Hi, I'm Lisa Eddy, your host of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast. I'm so glad that you've made your way here and that I'm now sharing these podcasts here on YouTube. In my 25 years in the beauty industry, I have worked with thousands of women. I have witnessed so many beautiful, powerful, smart, and kind women who are hiding instead of shining. My mission is to empower you to own your true power and beauty inside and out, to be truly confident and shine through your skin. Lord knows the world needs your light. I'm committed to helping you understand the choices that you are making that are working for or against you. I'll also be sharing beauty tips and tools your mother never taught you, and together we will bust urban beauty myths. Make sure to subscribe today to receive episodes right when they are released. For those who prefer listening to the audio podcast, head over to sacredbeautylifestyle.com. That's sacredbeautylifestyle.com, and you can find the platform of your choice. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I get to share Miss Jennifer Ness Schmid with you, also known as Divinely Jennifer, is an intuitive astrologer, a registered nurse, a traditional naturopath, and psychic channel, yes, please, to all of the above, who helps people connect to their vitality and bliss through the interpretation of one's divine body, mind, and spirit. She believes our unique natal blueprint holds the keys to our greatest and highest purpose while balancing and restoring our well-being through the wisdom of natural remedies. She aspires to help womb in to activate and embody our light in service to ourselves and our loved ones, the greater whole, and especially to the new earth. Jennifer is also a proud single mama of 3 amazing young adults and recently relocated to Arizona. I am so excited to be here with you today, Divinely Jennifer. I just like saying that. Hi.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, wow. I love so much of what you are sharing and stand for and your studies. Wow.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money on school and realized that pretty much everything I needed to know is already in the universe. A lot of left letters after my name, and they've all had value. And we know so much more than we think we know,
Mhm. I
or we
love that you
believe
said
we
that.
know.
Or we believe we know. Yeah. And it's that divine. What I'm hearing you say is that we have access
Yeah.
to divine information, infinite
Yes.
wisdom. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's so much. I mean, maybe telling us a little bit about your journey. And you talked about the unique natal blueprint, you talked about the new earth. So, yeah, let's just delve in and start sharing wherever you are called.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think like so many of us, we knew when we came into the world that we had a purpose and a mission and a connection to the universe. And then for me as a child of the 70s, that was not cool. It's not okay to be talking to flowers or fairies or doing astral projection or, like I remember an experience when I was very young. I was probably around 4. And I think I don't even know where, I don't even remember where I was, if I was in bed or what. And I remember going into this black void and going, what's the dream and what's the reality? And that has stuck with me my entire life. What's the dream and what's the reality? Is it our soul? Is it this physical earth? Where are we in all of this? And then, I went to school and I shoved it into a little box and set it away for a long time. And I lived a very conventional life. And in my 20s, I got really sick in my mid 20s. And so I started playing around with experimenting with natural remedies, nutrition. I had been a junk food junkie my whole life and just was kind of naturally skinny, quote unquote. And then the doctor said, oh, well, there's nothing we can do for you. You're just going to have to live with this. And I thought, I'm getting married in 3 months. There's no way in heck I'm going to live with this. Like, this is not sustainable. So started playing around. Carolyn Mace's Anatomy of the Spirit was the first book I read. And then I read some Andrew Weil, and, just hearing Carolyn Mace say, you don't have to be a victim. You decide to be a victim. It just like blew my mind. It just rang so true. So that really began my journey back into, God, that was 25 years ago, my journey back into the spiritual part. I was a professional singer at the time. That was my career. With every pregnancy, I became more intuitive, more clairvoyant, more clairsentient. Now in my life, I've been pregnant 6 times. I've brought 3 to life. And the other 3, I think, were here to teach me lessons. The first 2, I definitely physically wasn't ready yet. I was on the pill for a long time and ended up going down the acupuncture Chinese herbal medicine pathway to become pregnant in my late 20s. And so just these journeys of continuing to deepen my connection with the divine. And then I'd just go in waves, right? Like I'd kind of set it aside. Things would get really shitty and hard. And I'd be on my knees, be like, what do you want from me? And they're like, oh, right, you're there. I'm supposed to ask for help. Duh. And then ended up blowing out a vocal cord while I was studying to become a naturopath. I was doing this, online program because I wanted to be able to offer these natural remedies just simply as a mom. I never saw myself offering them professionally. Blew out a vocal cord, and that was the end of my singing career. So I said, well, I guess I'm supposed to go into healthcare then. And at the time, California changed their licensing laws. So I could no longer use the letters ND after my name because I didn't go to one of the schools that paid to lobby the legislature. And so I went to nursing school. And that was such an incredible blessing. Nursing gets a bad rap because of some of the nurse ratchets that are still out there, who are really pushing coercion and fear, what I call fear-based medicine. And yet my experiences in nursing school, I started at San Francisco State, ended up transferring to University of San Francisco, was that all my faculty for the most part were incredibly holistic. And they recognized the healing abilities of nurses and the diversity of healing abilities that exist in nursing. So I felt so blessed to have chosen nursing as opposed to, going back to med school or anything like that. It was such a blessing, and I had my own practice for a while. And then while I was in my own practice, a surgeon that I had met when I was in nursing school, who had become a good friend, my kids babysat for him. He was my dad's surgeon, and called me and said, I need you in my clinic. My nurse practitioner is going on maternity leave. And I was like, well, I'm not a nurse practitioner. I don't have that scope of practice. He's like, I don't care. I need you. Just how much time can you give me? I said, how about 2 days a week? He goes, okay. So that began a beautiful 4.5-year foray with the VA, the Veterans Affairs, in various ways. And I didn't realize, I had only learned maybe a month before that the VA was offering what they called whole health. They were trying to transform patient care. They were trying to make it a more patient-centered model. No more of this, again, force, fear, coercion. We could have a whole podcast on the myths of informed consent that exist in our healthcare world. We certainly have taken about 85 steps backwards over the last 2.5 years, 3 years, and ended up with my dream job where I was working from home 50% of the time, traveling 50% of the time, traveling the country, teaching whole health modalities, yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, about the evidence behind them, how important they are to us as employees and to, the patients. And then COVID happened. And they shoved us into a little box and set us in the corner and said, we'll deal with you later. And you could feel the beginning of the polarities really start to express themselves. And I knew by September of 2020, it was not my dream job. It was a nightmare job. I had a supervisor who just didn't get it. And she had a lot of stress in her personal life, just didn't work out. And so I said, okay, this is it. I'm done. Because my health was really, our bodies will tell us when we are out of alignment. So in the story of my life, right? Like health crisis is actually a personal crisis. a health, like symptoms, bodily symptoms are a sign to say, hey, you're not in alignment with your soul right now. You got to stop playing small. You got to stop playing safe. And that was really scary because I'm 100% responsible for my kids. Um, and so when my ex-husband moved back to Germany in 2018, he got me too'd and I was on my own. And so I, it was so scary to make that leap. And I just, every time, the more I listen to the universe going, take that leap. And I'm like, I'm scared. Take the leap. I'm scared. We got your back. Okay. Like, how on your knees do you want to be? And so Divinely Jennifer I channeled her right around that same time. It was right around September 2020. I just wrote in my journal, Divinely Jennifer, and took 9 months to birth her, interestingly. And she was born in May of 2021. Maybe that's 8 months, but she was born and it was really, I've studied astrology or just loved astrology, resonated with astrology. Anything woo woo has my name on it. Like I'll geek out. I love it. And so started doing astrology readings for friends and they're going, you got to do this professionally. I'm like, but I don't have any certifications. And again, the universe said, you're not here to teach the old ways. You're here to birth new ways. You're here to conceive new ways. And you may not be understood during your lifetime, and that's okay. But this is the path you have to be on. And to be really of service, I did an interview with Pam Gregory in September of 2021. She's an amazing, wise woman in England. And I'd call her a new earth astrologer, very much helping to bring more awareness to the goddesses and the asteroids in our astrological charts. And that was really fun. We're just talking more about what we are all birthing as the divine feminine. Well, and it doesn't mean that the feminine is going to take over the masculine because it's not about hierarchy, but it's really about, I want to say the words that just came to me were leveling the playing field, right? It's about integrating the masculine and the feminine within us, within our world. And so now here I am, we're recording this in December of 2022 and really at this place of understanding that we absolutely have to embody our soul's highest purpose in various ways. And spoiler alert, our highest purpose is embodying divine love. Like it's just all about love. There's it doesn't matter how you do it or what you do it. It's really about the love. And so here we are. And so I feel so called to see a chart and go, oh, look at that magic there. It's just all such a miracle. And to be able to guide people and reveal to people the magic that lives within them. And that none of us are here to play small. None
Amen.
of us. We
100%.
are all here to go big or go home and then try it again the next life,
Literally, right? Wow, I love your journey, and you having letters behind your name did serve you. And I also love that you came to the realization that you could access the infinite wisdom. It's like that's how the old mystery schools were, right?
Yeah.
The wisdom is passed on from the ancestors. That's what we're missing, but we can channel them. We can channel information. And so there's two words. I'd love for you to perhaps explain for our listeners, because maybe you can explain channeling and your definition of the new earth for people who are going, I'm sorry, what are they talking about right now?
Right. I think if you're a visual person, imagine literally a tube, a structure of white light of information coming from the universe, the cosmos, the sun, moon, whatever, the sky, into our heads, in our hearts. And this goes right into what I think the new earth is where we're living from our hearts. There's an integration of mind, body, spirit. There's an integration of intuition, creativity, love, and our thinking. But we've become such a thinking and mind-based society, very left brain society culture, that it's thrown us off balance. So to me, the And it's like, I was talking to a friend, I was like, God, this ascension thing is freaking hard work. Like, come on, give us a break here. But like this idea of living in a society, living in a world where, number one, we are in connection with the earth, with Mother Earth. We understand how to utilize her resources, and we have appreciation and gratitude for them. We are living from our hearts. We are living from a much more balanced, healthy space, like from the nutrition physical side, there's no junk food, there are no pesticides, there's none of that stuff going on, right? From just being in a place of profound love and acceptance of ourselves and other beings. The judgment is gone. The vanity is gone. All those shadows that we, selfishness, purposelessness, all these energies that we fear, it's like fear and love. And so we currently live in a fear-based world, and we are shifting that paradigm for people like you and me and all, your listeners out there who are drawn to hear this right now. We're shifting into this new paradigm of love, which, sounds woo woo and crazy. And I probably could not have been on a podcast 40 years ago and said that, but this is how far we've come to say, no, we're moving into this place of love where we really understand our creative capacities, where we really understand that there is this world out there in the cosmos that wants nothing more than to help us. And we have to learn how to ask.
Ask and you shall receive. That's a great book by Abraham Hicks, by the way. But
Yes.
I was just reminded again. I love that you brought that in. How I think it's Dolores Cannon. I don't know if I'm going to get that right, but she does a lot of channeling. I can't remember if that's her last name. Was just saying how we all come in with a spirit guide or an angel that has agreed, and usually more than one, like around 4 spirit guides we have, and they'll kind of pop in at different times. And yet because it's a free world planet, meaning we have free will choice to do what we want, and we can choose the higher alignment or the good for all, or we can choose from the ego and selfish perspective, which is
Mm-hmm.
self-serving and then ends up being destructive, right? And so we have all of this guidance there that won't interfere because of the fact that it's created with a free will universe in mind, right? So you have to ask. Are you getting this, guys? You have got to ask. And perhaps, probably before you're on your knees, like Jennifer and self have found ourselves time and time again. And I'm sure for those of you listening, you could probably relate. We often remember to ask when we are like just being gutted and like torn apart, and our life is a hot mess, and we're in an incredible amount of pain. And the better way to go about that is to be in prevention mode, just like with everything, lifestyle, in your diet, how you eat, and all of that jazz, and your workouts and your meditations, and really being in prevention mode by staying in connection.
Mm-hmm. And that's, this is part of where the divine feminine comes in, because I share those same beliefs. I believe that we have a guardian angel, we have a group of spirit guides that are here only for us in this life. And then they are connected to sort of our external guides, these ascended masters that we have a connection to. Maybe that's Joan of Arc, Mother Mary. I've certainly discovered recently my own lineage tied to Mary Magdalene that's just blown my mind ever since I got this. I got my shirt on and we're on a podcast anyway, but I got a Venus rose tattoo in my arm. It's been like life changing for me, that of what has come in through that. So we can call on these divine feminine masters to help us, to guide us. They may communicate through our spirit guides. And what I'm finding is that in our, what I call the divine natal blueprint, also known as our natal chart in astrology, I'm starting to see a connection in the chart with which ascended masters we can learn them. I mean, we can learn from all of them, but the ones where we came in and they're on our team, so to speak. Like in your chart, I'm looking and you've got, and Vesta, the goddess Vesta, who of course was, you think about the Vestal virgins, and virgin is the word that has been hijacked by what I would call not open-hearted Christianity back in the early days. It was co-opted. The word virgin was co-opted because virgin is really sovereign. Yeah, virgin is really
I
sovereign.
have chills.
And when you look at Mary's life, when you look at Mother Mary's life, she wasn't the demure, little teenager you see in nativity plays all around the world. She was and is an ascended master. She was a priestess. She was highly trained in the Essene rites and mystery schools and lived many lifetimes and is really the eternal mother in so many ways. But this energy around these ascended masters, so Vesta is this what I'm finding is that Vesta is this representation in our natal chart. So for you in the 12th house, which is the house of on the one hand, it's like our inner psyche. In traditional astrology, it's more represented by like prison and the subconscious and yeah, kind of like that deep inner closet. I really see 12th house as this those parts of ourselves as they connect to the cosmos and as they connect to our divine, to our dreams, to our deep inner knowing, intuition. And you've got a lot of stuff in the 12th house, but you've got Vesta there. And I think what comes into me, Vesta in the 12th house, is very much Kuan Yin, self-compassion. Yeah. Self-compassion. And so it's like, all right, where do you need to show yourself more self-compassion? Where do you need to ask for help? Like it's not a failure to ask the divine for help. We're really shooting ourselves in the foot when we don't ask for help.
And not even just the divine, like everyone around us can be
Yeah.
instruments to
Yeah.
channel the divine, right? Like we also have to ask
Yeah.
in the physical world. And I think that's something that we've really gotten away from, asking for help, like you were just saying,
Mm-hmm.
in general, right? And I'm getting better and better at that. And what I've come to understand, I have to share this little nugget because I think it's really helpful for people who have a hard time. If you're listening and you have a hard time asking for help, we actually rob people of their ability to serve and share love when we don't ask for help, because our divine nature is to help and share love. So it's actually just as much a gift to give as it is to receive.
Yes, right. How many times were we taught, "Oh, don't open the door for me. I can carry my own groceries." But you're right, it creates such an imbalance. And here we are as a society so tired. We're so tired. And so to allow others to gift to us, to help us, opens up so many streams without, of course, going down the pathway of codependency, which is a whole nother thing that we are dealing with in our world, right? All the enabling and codependency that has arisen. And every time, we have a realization, around the concept of enabling, right? So we're preventing someone really from using their free will and from using their own gifts. Oh no, I'll get it for you. No, I got it. It's okay. You don't have to. No. Well, and then we end up becoming energetic caretakers, financial caretakers, emotional caretakers of others. And then that prevents us from using our gifts and really embodying our higher purpose of what we're here to do. And it doesn't mean you can't take care of someone. I mean, one of the greatest, I know many women who have cared for a dying parent. I mean, that's an act of sacrifice and love. It's not necessarily that you're enabling your parent to die. It's not
Right.
like that at all. It's like, it's so much deeper than that. So we're just in this place where we are, especially again, as women or woman, WOMBEN, I like to say, we have a womb for a reason. It's like this beautiful creative center in our body, even if we have not birthed anyone, or even if we don't have one anymore. And it's like we give so much. This is the wound that has been passed down to us for millennia. And so for us to understand that when we give from a full cup, and giving from a full cup means receiving and not being necessarily, I'm going to get a little vulgar for a minute, like a pillow princess, right? Where you're just always laying there being pleased in bed, but which is not always a bad, we need a little of that in our lives at times, but, but it's also it is that interplay of giving and receiving. And you can't just receive all the time, and you can't just give all the time.
Two
It's like,
sides
it
of the
is
same coin. Yep.
right. So you're just like
Balance.
that balance of keeping our cup full so we can give from that place of overfull and joy and delight. And that's something I think we're all navigating and healing, like I said, healing millennia of wounding.
And I keep hearing you say I keep hearing the underlying theme of balance. Like you said something about us using too much of our, logical or what was the word you said with the brain?
Right. Just using the mind, a very thinking based left
Right.
brain society.
Left
Yeah.
brain society. Thank you. Where that again isn't utilizing the intuitive, the infinite wisdom that we have
Mhm.
access to, that which is a feminine trait, right? So that's where you're talking about bringing the feminine in more. And I keep hearing that thread in everything you're saying. And I just wanted to bring that together about that's what you are alluding to as well with the balance, right? And even the giving and receiving is like that's the balance of masculine and feminine.
And it's really so much about the integration of both, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're going to do only balance poses in yoga, you're going to miss out on some of the flexibility. If you only do some of the flexibility poses in yoga, you're going to miss out on some of the balance and strength poses.
Right.
So it's that integration of the various energies and colors, and yeah, that just and of course I have Libra rising. So Libra's all about balance. But maybe that's one of my shadows too. I don't know. Like I'm
Ah,
always like, it's about the balance,
that's
but
funny
it's
because I was getting that from you.
except I'm in the zone of fire. So it's like I'm channeling my inner redhead here.
I love
I was a redhead when I first got hair. I was a redhead, so I'm channeling that inner redhead, that
it.
fiery, passionate. But hold on a second, we're not gonna. It's not balance at all costs. It's not superficial balance. That oh, it's just all looks good on the surface. It's nobody's fighting right now. It's harmonious and peaceful.
Right.
Nobody move. Nobody breathe.
It's not
Because as soon
denial
as
or spiritual bypassing what you say.
yes, totally.
We have to deal to heal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love that you brought in a little bit of my chart, and I'm curious a little bit more about how, like, why is it beneficial to understand this blueprint you talk about for people and how you help people through understanding themselves better.
Yeah, I think what I love most is how validating it is. These parts of ourselves that we might have hidden away or be afraid to share with others, understanding our cycles. I mean, I don't want to get political here, but all
I don't want you
teenagers,
to either. Go ahead.
let me just say that all teenage girls
Hmm.
should be taught how to track their cycles.
Oh,
That
yeah.
should be an absolute must. And putting someone on birth control pills, in my humble medical opinion, is one of the worst, and spiritual, is one of the worst things we could ever do. I say that as someone who was on it for 10 years. Well, what if someone's irregular? You can still track your cycle. You still, like, there's still physical signs of what's happening in our body, even if we're every 42 days, every 35, vacillating between 28 and 35. We can still track that.
Heck
We
yeah.
should all understand when we've been impregnated
100%.
within 2 to 3 weeks. Like, it should be absolutely, this is one of I know so many women who are actually teaching natural fertility, teaching these, understanding our lunar cycles. And this so important. So important. And within the chart, then we also have our solar cycles, and we have sort of our seasons of where we thrive. Like, I for one, like, I get sick almost every October. Like, that's something happens physically to me every bloody October. And if I don't, then it's January. And I can see exactly where that is in my chart.
Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating because I was just telling a friend, uh, and I have a lot of things going through my mind right now as I'm starting to share this because he is sort of awakening, and we're in this meditation group together, and I noticed that sometimes I have quite a bit of experience, like years and years, like you, like I've been studying spirituality and awakening for 25 years, and I notice that sometimes when people are becoming more awake and they're newer, they don't quite understand, because I was saying something about the cycles and the rhythms and how I notice seasonally. I notice right around my birthday, first right off, I will tell you that that is when my energy is on fire. And I think it's for most of us because we had to have a lot of energy to come out, to make a decision. Like, I'm coming out, right? It was like all of our energy is up, right? I notice that it's the opposite in the fall. The fall is typically the hardest time of year for me. And he was like, sometimes, like, then people question, like, oh, is that a belief that you have? And I'm like, no, it's actually a cycle. That's why I brought that in. Like, can we not analyze everything? It's not a belief. It's a cycle in my body. We have rhythms and cycles, like the circadian rhythms of the earth, people.
Yeah. And that's where you have Pluto, the planet of transformation, death and rebirth. You have Uranus, the planet of freedom, revolution, breakdowns leading to breakthroughs. You have Black Moon Lilith there.
Where is all
And
this? In
this
fall?
is in the fall. In your chart, it's happening in Virgo, Libra, and Libra. And that's the fall, right? Well, Virgo's a little bit, well, Pluto, you literally have Pluto in the last 8 minutes of Virgo. He did this little dance between Virgo and Libra for several years in like 1970, 71, 72, 73. And sorry, I don't want to out your age, but you are
I'm
gorgeous
very
anyway. So
proud of being 50.
that's right. We are 50 and fabulous, ladies and gentlemen who are listening. So it's like in that energy. So right around the solstice energy, right into that October, it's like such a season of transition for you, breakdowns leading to breakthroughs, some of your own like inner feminine strength that comes out as well with that Black Moon Lilith, where she's just not going to accept any bullshit from anybody. Thank you very much.
Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been wounded for that over the years. I mean, let's face it.
Girl, you don't even know.
Well, yeah. I mean, and so this is the other one of the other things I love about a chart. There's several things I love about understanding our blueprint is it takes the shame away. Like, I don't know what, I don't know kind of your history, but like you have this very strong, and this is where the goddesses become so important in the chart because your sun is conjunct Sedna. And I don't know if you're aware of the myth of Sedna, but I recommend that you get acquainted with her. It's not a happy story. She was basically sacrificed by her father for her lying husband, who, so it's like you have these gifts, like you have these gifts, your son, you want to shine your light into the world through, like, you really like embodying the goddess is so important to you, embodying the delights and the pleasure of life and the earth and being alive.
Yes.
Like that first peach of the summertime and that like lying on the grass and like having a glass of wine and just like, who cares if anybody else is around? This is just you and dancing. It's like that energy of Beltane, right? That spring energy, except there's a potential with Sedna there that you could feel like a prisoner, especially in marriage, if you aren't able to live your higher purpose. And that's oftentimes with Sedna in the 12th house, you often will consider everyone else's needs and desires and sacrifice your own, which doesn't help you, obviously, as you've probably learned over the years. So there's this like whatever, it's like almost like there's a potential for gaslighting in relationship with Sedna conjunct your sun. So it's like blocking your gifts, blocking your femininity, blocking your connection to the earth and your delight and your pleasure. And yet, when you can kind of, it's almost like you have to die and be reborn the way she was. She was reborn as a goddess of the ocean and of the sea creatures and things like that. And then it's like you have to go through that death in order to be reborn. And then you can shine your gifts and your light fully.
You are nailing this. For our listeners, just FYI, everything that she is sharing right now is 100% accurate. And it's interesting because every astrologer and intuit and channeler can bring in different pieces. And also what I noticed, because I've had so many readings over my lifetime and this is my world, I eat, breathe, and sleep, like wellness and spirituality and stuff. So every piece of wisdom or information that comes in is timely. Like you're picking this up now because this is what I needed validation on. Like you were saying, it's so validating to hear certain things. And I am currently walking through something rather horrific that I'll be telling from big stages, I'm sure, one day, that could be the death of anyone. And it feels like almost like Christ. Like I feel like it's my crucifixion, but it's
Yeah.
also my resurrection. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting that you brought in everything you did. Thank you. I'll absolutely look her up. See, this is why we need people like you doing this.
Well, thank you. It's so fascinating. I mean, the other thing is your sun is and Sedna, they're in what's called a T square to the nodes, to the north node and the south node, and then also to your midheaven. And the midheaven is really considered in astrology the zenith of our life. It's like the high point. It's what becomes our legacy. And the north node is very much our, I consider it to be our quote destiny. You could almost think of it as the destination. And your north node is at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So you were just at the end of that of the north node in Aquarius cycle. The nodes take 19 years to go through a sign. So then, when you're 19, you have a nodal return, et cetera. And this is like people with the north node in Aquarius. It's like, okay, Elon Musk, who's 6 days younger than I am. I'm so dying to know what time he was born so I could look at his chart. Because he's such you see him being just ravaged in the mainstream media and you think there's such an enigma there. Einstein had North Node in Aquarius. Elvis had North Node in Aquarius. And Elvis could have been a revolutionary musician.
I have chills
But
again.
instead, he got sucked into that Hollywood show stuff. But if he had really followed his heart and been the revolutionary musician he wanted to be, I don't know how rock and roll might have transformed even before the Beatles came along.
Wow.
That was part of his destiny. So you've got this, what I would call like a T square. So it's like this conflict between your dreams and yourself and your purpose, and this revolutionary person like who wants to go against the status quo and seeing the limits of the status quo. So you have this potential to bring in new paradigms and ideas of leadership, really, and quote management to the world. And this idea of, what I like to call is hierarchy, versus, or horizontal leadership is what we called it in nursing school, versus this top down stuff that we're always dealing with. It's like, okay, well, we can move towards this utopian future. Thank you very much. And this is, so you constantly, it's almost this restlessness to take action. You have to take action towards your dreams and towards what you feel like is your purpose. Otherwise, you're not going to feel the gratitude or the abundance or the delight or the pleasure. Because that's your legacy. Like you have a big legacy.
I feel that. That's why people try to knock me down.
Yeah. The jealousy and envy.
Yes. 100%. This is so fascinating. Wow. I love the new leadership you're talking about. And it's interesting because I am, and you don't know this either about me other than what you do know. It hasn't been confirmed, but I am very much an outside of the box type of leader. I have been an entrepreneur since I was 27, and I didn't go to school. I went to the school of life and have studied endlessly. I am a forever student and teacher and an incredibly curious mind. I love learning and teaching, and I'm teaching almost just as fast as I'm learning. It's like my heart. Like I love helping people grow and evolve and enriching people's life. Heck, why I have the podcast, right? But I don't like doing things in the normal way. I don't fit into a box, and I never have.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like when everyone else was wearing pigtails, you already had like the low bun or whatever,
I got my belly ring when I was like 19. Like
Yeah.
before Britney Spears made it popular.
Right. Before anybody did, right? Like that's a big part of who you are. And then, and also building the community structures around that. Because we do need some structure.
We
We
do.
are physical forms made out of matter. So this like our little electron spinning everywhere, but we need that structure. And but the old structures aren't going to work.
100%. We're seeing that. And if things are falling apart for a reason.
Yeah.
And there's new leadership forming for a reason by divine guidance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I would call I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to say like the fear-based world, because I think a lot of people are vacillating in between the two worlds. They want to reach for the more love-based world, but then they get sucked back down by life or other things.
Yeah.
So there's just the people, I think in our hearts, we all want this. This is something that we all want in our hearts, but it's so scary to think about, so daunting and challenging. Maybe scary is not the right word. So challenging to think of like, how do I break through that? And that's one of your gifts, is helping people break through it by tapping into their inner light and their gratitude and their innocence. Like one of your beautiful gifts is that your ability to unage, so to speak, right? Like you understand skincare, obviously, you understand nutrition and all those things, but you have clearly shown that you can quote age gracefully, but to me the ultimate of aging gracefully is not aging at all,
I don't
except with our wisdom.
exactly. I don't believe in aging. So you nailed it again. I don't believe in aging. I believe there is a different way, but it really is about tapping into all of who we really are and letting our light shine. And it's the spiritual journey just as much, probably more than anything we can do topically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
Ugh,
absolutely. And
I
what we
love,
take in, right? Like what
yep.
happens if we only have access to GMO soybean oil for something we're eating, but we know like we got to eat this. What if you just say, okay, thank you, food, for nourishing my body in the way that I need to right now. I'm grateful to you for being there in this moment when I feel like I'm going to fall over because I'm so hungry. Or what, like
There is something absolutely to what you just said, because I am very particular about what I put in my body, and I don't feel strict or deprived. I really like to nourish with very high vibrational alive foods that don't have chemicals or pesticides or hormones, preservatives, right? However, your state that you're in, I think what you just brought in is so important, because I've had people say, wow, you talk about so many other things other than skin. And it's like, well, because everything else plays such a bigger role than just tending to your skin, like what you put in your body, right? And the chemicals that we put on it. Like, so coming back to what you just said, the state of being that we are in when we are receiving something, it's like receiving everything as a sacrament. Thank you. Whether it's a
yes.
glass of wine.
Mm.
I'm laughing because there's something else I want to say, and I'm like, should I say it? Because this is something I would say in a conversation with a girlfriend. So I'm just going to say it. Whatever you as a woman are receiving into your body, I would jokingly say, whether it's a glass of wine or a penis, to like
Right.
really be in alignment with,
Yes.
and blessing whatever it is that you are bringing into your body.
Yes.
So if it is that
Yes.
food, blessing that and thanking it and receiving it as a sacrament. Woo!
Yes. Absolutely. Amen. And and and
Oh,
and sometimes we just have to stop. That's part of this thing about this left brain world that we live in. It's all about the hustle and the doing. And you were just talking about being, which for us, especially as women, understanding our lunar rhythm. And it doesn't, in the olden days, we all bled with the new moon and we were all
right.
fertile with the full moon and we were all in the cycle together. Well, that's not the case anymore. And I believe there's nothing wrong with us for not cycling with the new moon. Don't give me that. I don't want to hear that on someone's podcast or whatever. Like I'm somehow inferior because I don't cycle with the new moon. It's like there's so much more beyond that I won't go into here. But it's like once we understand that connection, though, once we understand that rhythm, and if we're not sure of where we are or what's happening, or we're just in that pandemonium of do, hustle, hustle, pick up the kids, do this, do that, got to make dinner, pay the bills, be an entrepreneur, yada, yada. Just stopping for a moment and pausing is so powerful. If you can go outside, or, I know you guys had that big storm come through, like just stand at the window and open the window and like be in awe of the rain and the miracle of rain. And it go outside and jingle your wind chimes, or, roll the basil in your fingers, whatever. Like if you've got like a little pot or what, like anything, it doesn't matter. But just taking that time to pause and breathe can reset our whole system. There's actually a TED talk from, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, where she says taking a deep breath actually resets us from sympathetic fight or flight into parasympathetic, right? But it actually has it's much more than physical. It's actually a spiritual pause. And we can go, okay, where are we? And it's like, even for us when we were little, the Calgon commercials, right? Calgon, take me away. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go onto YouTube and search Calgon commercials or Calgon, take me away. I'm sure someone has posted one on YouTube. But it's like this mother who's overwhelmed and she just goes into her yummy smelling bath and disappears from the world.
Yes, I
And
would
that's
jokingly say that.
right. And so that's that energy that we as women, we're not victims to the quote, masculine or patriarchal systems that we probably helped create in a past life. It's that we get to reclaim the power of the feminine and the power of the pause and the power of our rhythms and cycles. And that's it's actually sounds so simple, or it's actually not complicated.
Yeah,
It's
like
not
most great
complicated.
teachings or spiritual practices, they're simple, not easy, because you actually have to do it. You have
Right.
to commit. It's the habit, it's the ritual. That's a great tip, though. It sounds like, because you were starting to say, whether you're running around, you're doing this, you're picking up the kids, it's like something to transition with, is what I heard. Like to be present for even just a moment as you're going into a transition. Like, okay, now I'm doing this. I heard that when you were saying you're running around doing this and this, and just stopping and
Yeah.
breathing and being in the moment. Thank you. I love
Yeah.
that gift.
You're welcome. And that's really how we connect to the divine. We don't connect to the divine through hustle and bustle. We connect through the divine in more stillness. And I know some people are listening to me like, that's not, I don't have time for stillness. And actually, yes, you do. There's always a moment for stillness. It's like there's a great book, House of God, which is about medical residents back in the 70s. And the chief resident is teaching the young interns, and he's like, and they're in the ICU and this patient is crashing. And they go, step 1 for CPR, breathe. You breathe first before you start giving the CPR and initiating life-saving proceedings, because it doesn't help anyone if you fainted on the floor. So it's like, yes, step 1 to any challenge, anything is breathing. And that's when you get those divine downloads, is when you're out connecting. Do you have a spirit bird? Is there a bird or something, a honeybee, whatever, that is trying to connect to you? That's probably a sign from one of your spirit guides. So just stopping and paying attention to it and finding the delight in it as well, and the gratitude of it. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Instead of
Yes.
being like, oh, there's that bird that's going to shit on my outdoor table again that I just cleaned. Like, oh, maybe that bird shitting on your table is giving you a sign from the universe.
You should probably Google bird shit. No, just kidding. Really, Google the animal totem. I was joking.
Right. One of my favorite books is called Animal Speak by, I think the guy's name is Ted Andrew. And he's got all sorts of totems in there. And it's just a really lovely way to connect to not only nature, but nature is the divine through Mother Earth. So connecting to that, to the divine, connecting to your connection to the divine and embodying that, and see how that changes the entire course of your day.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that little nugget as well. It's the simple pleasures. It's all the simple moments. It's all the little things in life that we look back and appreciate. Someone holding a door for us, the way someone made us feel, a smile, right?
Mm-hmm.
That hummingbird that visited. I have bird feeders, the hummingbird feeders, because they bring me so much joy.
Yeah. And what are they teaching? They're teaching us to play.
100%.
Play.
Yeah. Is there anything else as we're starting to wrap up that I know you've already shared a couple of good
Hmm.
tips, but perhaps for someone of our, or maybe one of our listeners or our listeners here that are newer on the journey or that are curious about getting started. And I think you said something about self awareness that is so important. Really
Yeah.
understanding yourself is so helpful for our journeys here on planet Earth that can be oh so challenging. So, what is a tip or yeah, a gift that you can share for someone on their path?
Hmm. I would say to really take the time to listen to those inner nudges, to really listen to that inner wisdom that we all have, which is often our connection to the divine, that it's always there. That information is always there, whether we're, a grad student taking a test, or we're taking a board exam, or just trying to figure out, is this guy right for me? Listen to those inner nudges and write them down if you can. You don't always, these little phone devices are such like my notes. I had to buy more storage for my phone just for my notes for all the downloads I get. But, like take note of your messages from the universe, and pay attention to the theme, and give yourself permission to be bigger.
Mm, I love that. Like bigger
Yeah.
than you ever thought you could be because we are. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is there a message that you would tell your 20-year-old self if you could go back and whisper in her ear? Is there something you'd want the younger divinely Jennifer to know?
As you said that, what came in right away is trust the witch. Trust your inner witch. Like, because I'm sure I've been burned at the stake in a past life and burned a few in my time. It's like trust the divine, trust the intuition, trust where my soul is called,
Mhm.
even if it's not popular, or other people don't understand, or, because, and you don't tell your dreams to everyone either, because not everyone's, how many well-meaning people go, you want your revenue to be what? Don't even go there. You can't do that. What are you going to do that? Just go get a job. And there are times when we need to go out and get a job, and that is perfectly okay. But it's those listening to those nudges, and also knowing that even if I choose differently from the nudge, it's still part of my journey. Might
Mm.
take me a little longer to get to that destination, whatever it might be, but it's okay too. There's no shame in any of it.
Yeah, picking up.
Just
I like to call that picking up light and information, which light is information, but like that's what we're doing. We're going around picking up light and information, right? Wisdom and light, gathering, collecting it. I
yeah,
I
yeah,
love that. Thank
yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
And then is there a big message if you had a megaphone that you would be screaming from mountaintops that you want the whole world to know? What would that be?
I think it's that love is always the answer, and we are always love.
We are love. That's beautiful. Thank you. It has been so fun to get to hang out with you, to learn from you, to share with you, and to share you and your divine wisdom, divinely, Jennifer.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you, Lisa.
Seriously, thank you so much. I'm Lisa Eddy, your host of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast, which is now being shared here on YouTube. I hope this episode brought you insights and inspiration to radiate and shine with confidence. Remember to subscribe so you receive new episodes hot off the press right when they are released. And follow me on Instagram for more juicy tips at I am Lisa Eddy. Also, ladies and gentlemen, when you subscribe, like, and share these episodes, it helps me to get seen by more people. And that means a lot to me because I am committed to reaching millions of women across the globe and waking them up to the sacred beauty lifestyle, owning their true power and beauty, both inside and out. Now more than ever, we need more women shining instead of hiding. When we band together, we are unstoppable. This is how we change the world together. Remember the Sacred Beauty lifestyle and get on out there and shine. The world needs your light.